Hey, it's Dave from the Camera Store, and this is the brand new Fujifilm XF 500mm 5.6 lens. If you're in the Fuji ecosystem, this is a very exciting lens, as it is the longest prime lens that they're offering in their system. Now, 500mm lens on any body is a pretty good reach, but with their APS-C size sensors, this becomes the 750mm equivalent lens, which brings in birds and wildlife that much closer. Now, we've come down to Carbon Park. It's a great day to shoot. The weather is beautiful. Hopefully some birds have still hung out and haven't flown south for the winter. We're going to talk about all the features of this lens and something that really surprised me. If you've been paying attention to Fuji over the last year, you probably recognize, hey, they launched another 500mm lens for the GF system not so long ago. Now, this lens is the exact same lens, basically, with a new paint job and a different mount for the XF series. That's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's quite resourceful from Fujifilm to do that. Same optical design for two different mounts. But the controls, the weight, everything else is exactly the same. This lens comes in at 1,350 grams, so it's very lightweight for a 500mm lens. We do have 5.5 stops of built-in stabilization on the lens, but I love the fact they have an Arca Swiss foot built into this lens here, so I don't need to put an additional plate on here. Because I am finding with that extended 750mm reach, I'm using a tripod or a monopod a lot more frequently with this focal length. Now, this is Fujifilm's highest quality of lens, and it certainly shows and it feels that way. This nice big knurled focusing ring here is very smooth and nice to work with, and just behind that we do have our aperture ring, which feels fantastic. From 5.6 to f22, and push the red button here, I can switch over into automatic and have the body control the aperture this way. Everything feels nice and premium. We have a couple custom controls and the usual presets, which allows us to use these custom buttons in a couple different ways. Now, I am surprised it doesn't have a full manual and autofocus switch on the lens itself. You have to control that through the body. However, I am impressed with the build quality of this lens. It certainly does feel like a premium product from Fujifilm. Now, it's no surprise, this lens is very sharp. I mean, we're using the sweet spot of a lens designed to cover a much bigger sensor, so the image quality is fantastic. I mean, the edge-to-edge sharpness is brilliant, but the ability to pull to some detail on these images is really, really nice. And once it comes to ghosting and flaring, this lens is very well controlled. I'm even impressed with the chromatic aberration. I'm not really seeing anything. I'm very impressed with what I'm able to get out of this lens when it comes to the overall sharpness and look of the images. Well, let's talk about the autofocus of this 5.6 lens and its linear autofocus motor. So that's pretty cool technology. But how does it work in the real world? So I came down here hoping to find some exotic birds, but it's a lot of ducks and a lot of seagulls. But it does give me a chance to at least see what this lens is capable of when it comes to fleeting motion. Now, I've got quite a few decent bird shots here, and I'm finding that it does lock onto focus quite quickly, and I like the fact that it can track. I also took this lens to my son's football game. Now, it's a little on the long side for shooting football. I found myself well outside of the touchdown zone to capture the framing that I wanted, but it was really nice to work with, and it was easily able to keep up with the action. Now, the trouble when you're shooting birds, though, I find like today, is that there's not always birds willing to participate and do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it when I'm ready to go. So I find myself looking around at other things I can photograph, and that's where this lens actually really surprised me. I mean, it has a minimum focusing distance of just under 3 meters, which allows me to get some really nice tight close-up shots of flowers and even some bugs at times. So being able to shoot that close up really actually adds the versatility of a lens, and walking around with it when nature's not providing the wildlife you want to see, you can certainly find some other stuff to photograph, and this lens is pretty versatile that way. Now, to go along with this minimum focusing distance, you can see just how quickly the lens acquires focus and what to expect out of it. Take a look at our wall test here, and you can see going from min focus to max focus, the lens provides pretty good results. So overall, what do I think of this lens? Well, I really like the image quality I'm getting out of it. The fit and finish of this lens, it's definitely a premium feel from Fujifilm. So I'm really enjoying working with this lens. However, Fujifilm does have some other offerings as well. They make a very good 150 to 600mm lens, which gives us even more reach than what this lens has to offer, although you pay a penalty as far as the f-stop goes. I mean, it's f8 on the long end, which can really hurt you when it comes to keeping those shutter speeds up where we need them to capture those great quality shots. I really like that Fujifilm has given a premium option for their users who are into that long focal length. It's a fantastic lens delivering some really impressive image quality and great functionality. Now, I of course want to know what you guys think of this offering from Fujifilm. Are you excited to get your hands on this lens and shoot something other than seagulls like I did today? Make sure you leave comments down below. Follow us both on Instagram and subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's been Dave from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again soon. Hey, thanks for sticking around and watching this episode on the Fujifilm 5.6 lens. If you want to check out more of our recent episodes, click up here. And if you're a Canadian and you want to shop local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.